picture on the screen.
Mm.
And
So,
we'll get. I hopefully we'll get to the point, guys, where we'll be using Google Plus, and we can see everybody's webcams as soon as they start talking. Um, anyway, that's where
Wow.
we're gonna go. I was wondering if some of you wouldn't mind sharing. JT, can you talk there? No, he can't talk. Just like I thought, somebody's sleeping nearby. Okay, well, how about David Wingo? You actually have some experience with some of this stuff that we're doing, but could you maybe just talk about your experience just in the brief time you've been involved with us?
Well, I mean, it's we kind of started the program just as I was beginning my new job. So
mm,
things went from 0 to 60 in a hurry because I had a position before where had been in it for 2 years, had it under control. I was kind of on cruise control, and then I stepped up and took on a big new challenge with launching an upstart biotech drug into the oncology marketplace. And a number of the exercises that Vance had given me to do initially, which was to just spend a couple pages or 2 or 3 pages in journal every day, put something on my wrist to remind me to kind of look down and sense my emotion at a given time
mhm,
and take note of being present, which would be trying to notice 3 different senses, something where maybe I'm touching something, I'm smelling something, notice air, and try to be present. And I already do a lot of this anyway, but it's just a bigger, a more reinforcement to be in the now.
mhm,
And I found it to be extremely useful in times where I would get myself excited or frustrated because I wouldn't be able to do everything I was supposed to be doing yet, even though nobody was putting pressure on me. I just have such a high degree of what I think I should be able to do, and it's kind of helped me keep my emotions in check and move through the early process of I think I started April 21st is my first day of the new job, and it's been really good. Like today, I was out on a road bike ride for 2 hours on the streets of Phoenix. Now, if you want to talk about the necessity of being present at all times, it's on a road bike ride. I mean, I'm telling you, that's it can be a difference between life and death. And then I followed it with an hour of yoga right afterwards. So I've had like a really good exercise day to day as far as kind of live outside of just being inside my head and being aware of things around me. And I think when I do that, I'm a lot more effective and I'm a lot happier.
mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Mhm,
Well, thank you for sharing, David. And yeah, David does practice a lot of this.
mhm.
But you just, I mean, hey, David, could you just real quickly describe? I mean, I know it's going to be almost impossible, but try to describe to everyone how demanding this job was on some days.
Well, it's more of the pressure I put on myself. It's this is an upstart biotech that's launching a new product into the oncology space, and there's a lot of moving parts. I think I was saying before, you're trying to sort out process, you're trying to sort out the company intranet, documentation, online training, personal training, and then starting to think about what you're going to do out in the field. And it's just a myriad of different things all hitting me at once. Although, I think I repeated to myself, you eat an elephant one bite at a time. And but the company that my supervisor has been very, very low key, and so it's been more me inside my head pushing me than people outside, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot of it in life too, right?
Mhm,
Um,
mhm,
Sometimes we come up with various expectations of ourselves that can be overly trying to choose too much, and that can cause a lot of unnecessary stress on myself. I don't know if I can really describe it, but it's a six figures. I've got a big territory, and I've got a big job ahead of me, which is launch a product in the oncology space. So,
Yeah,
David, do you believe in, it's not a belief, but do you understand physics?
to a degree,
Okay.
I mean, I
And you
have a degree
probably,
in geology.
okay. So you understand some of the basic Newtonian physics of, for every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction.
Yeah,
Okay. So, you don't have to believe in gravity. Gravity doesn't care, right?
yeah.
Okay. So for every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. Boom, boom. Okay. Right, wrong. And if you push against something, you're going to get something that's equally pushing back just as hard, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
it can be.
So with that, you used the word a couple times, expectations. Okay, and you were right. It's usually in your head. So if expectations is this, what are you automatically going to get on this side? Automatically, without exception, and will happen 100% of the time.
Resistance.
What will be the resistance? If you have an expectation here, what will be the resistance? Equal and opposite.
I'm not sure, but I think the less expectations I have, probably the better off I'll be.
Exactly. Because gravity doesn't care. So let me tell you something, okay? There's many of the things that you just said right now, and I had this talk with Vance many moons ago, and he totally discounted me until he figured out I was right. If you have an expectation, the opposite and absolutely equal that you will experience is disappointment. And that is in the realm of shame. And you're going to be swimming around in the lake of shame without even knowing it, as most people are. So I would encourage you to find another way instead of an expectation, especially to the stories that you have in your head about what you should be doing. And try and work away from those, because the opposite and equal of any expectation is going to be absolute disappointment. Now, in the 1400s, the Islamic poet Rumi has a poem, and it goes something like this. Beyond the ideas of right and wrong, there is a field. I'll meet you there. And it is a field of love, joy, synchronicity, creativity, love, abundance, health, wealth. It's those things which you really can't touch. So get out of this, because you have nowhere to go. Like Einstein said, you cannot solve the problem at the level of the problem. Einstein was not proud of his intelligence. He was proud of his creativity, and that's the field. So anything that you can do to get away from an expectation, be it your own or somebody else's, is going to stop this kind of action happening. And it goes up into the field of creativity.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I found myself a number of times, I just step away, go work out, go do something else, and
Exactly.
plod back at it. And I got a lot of stuff done, and I was very happy. I'm actually very satisfied with where I'm at now versus where I started. And the level of angst and anxiety and stress has dropped probably 80%.
Exactly. When you do those things, when you step back down into your body and you step into creativity, you're always going to be more peaceful and also much more effective. So, yeah. You can always tell when you're standing on that diving board for the lake of shame, with disappointments, being in that family, is whenever you find the words coming into your head or out of your mouth, should, would, could, or enough, you know you're standing on the diving board for a lake of shame. And nothing ever good comes out of that.
It's true.
So check your neuro-linguistics about what you're telling yourself with should, would, could, or enough. you're standing on the diving board, get ready to do a swan dive.
Would. Could.
Yeah, it's also good just to be mindful of it, right? And then go, you know what? I think I'll just focus on the air going in and out instead. Hey, I wanted to go over to Clement, David. That was great, man, because you inspired some great stuff out of John too. And I noticed we have my old friend Michael back as well. Hopefully you can hear Michael. Michael, can you hear? I just was wondering if you were hearing us. I'm not sure if I need to like send you a pin or something. Anyway, I sent pins. You might be muted. Okay. I think they were muted until I sent the pin number. Okay. Sorry guys, I'm not used to. This time I sent out phone numbers because I knew some people were calling in on the run. Millie, did you ever make it in with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh,
yay!
Millie made it in with us. So
Hey!
we got a picture.
Hey, Millie.
We got to put a picture of Millie up there on the screen.
Hello!
Oh, there's beautiful Millie.
She's, I gotta say, Millie's been, she was, in terms of, if this were a race, she was way, way, way in the back, man. You could hardly see her on the track come down the path. But now, man, she's right up front.
Well, we all know the tortoise and the hare story.
I mean, she just looked away for a minute, and there she was in the lead. I was like, whoa, where'd she come from?
Really, you are.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. But thanks for that, though. I mean, hey, David, thanks for sharing about that. And, I just find that all the things that Sarah and John and, David and JT, everybody in the group, when they share their experience, it just, it's so insightful, and it helps. It helps with my daily life and what I'm seeing. So thanks for that, everybody.
What she's referring to, John, is on our Facebook page. We have a group page, and we started this thing a while back I told you about. It's just called GPS. What are you experiencing today? And so the group, various people will, type what they're experiencing today. Sometimes it'll be a little bit of a story, and sometimes it's just a list of emotions they're observing. And it ends up over time, like Millie said, being incredibly insightful because you go, oh yeah, I was feeling that last week, or what have you. It's good to have the group.
I want to real quickly go over, everybody talks about their emotions, and I think it's, that's absolutely necessary. You got to click into what you're experiencing in the GPS. We need to take it one level down now because people are understanding that, but I need to go to an understanding even below that. So, and I'm going to give you a story that I give everybody, and I'm going to actually give you the answer that I always ask of everybody. Okay. So, your emotions, number one, are the only thing that stay with you from birth until death. Everything else changes. The size of your feet, the size of your brain, your knowledge, your eyes, everything else changes in life except for your emotions and how you experience them. That's the only thing that is genetically coded into you that is permanent. So, and that's your permanent GPS, that's your permanent compass. Now, you are not your emotions. It's only information. Just like on the dashboard of your car, those instruments are not your car. They're telling you how your car is doing. So emotions are the exact same thing. They are not you. They're only telling you what you're experiencing, and then you need to learn coping skills to deal with them. You need to go to another level down underneath that. So if your emotions are supposed to keep you, moving along and basically alive, and they're genetically coded into you, the next thing we need to know is the language that they're speaking to you. What are they trying to tell you? So let's go back 100,000 years. We're in Africa. Our ancestors have not moved out of Africa yet. And your job is to eat, don't be eaten, and make babies. That's it. Eat, do not be eaten, and make babies. Or Can I eat it? Will it hurt me? Can I make babies with it? That's it. And that goes into your brainstem, your reptilian part of your brain. And if one of those questions gets answered yes, then it sends an electric signal up to the limbic system of your brain, which you then have an emotion. And then you go to the neocortex, the front part of your brain, which is your learned coping skills. There's nothing here at birth. There's nothing here at birth. Everything is learned. But the limbic system, genetically coded. How to answer that question, can I eat it? Will it hurt me? Can I make babies with it? That's very primate. That's what allows, that's the gatekeeper for an emotion, for you to have an emotion. And many times, don't forget what the Buddha said, you have 65 emotions with each snap of the finger. That's a lot of emotions, okay, because the answers are getting yes. So let's take the language that the emotion is trying to tell you something, the information. So 100,000 years ago, you're walking along some dried up lake bed in Africa. It's 120 degrees outside. Your nose picks up a scent. You don't know what it means. Could it hurt me? Can I eat it? Can I make babies with it? You don't know. So you follow it. Your curiosity is up. You come on in a couple steps, a dead zebra right there in front of you that some lion has killed a week ago. A week ago.
And it's 120.
And it's 120. There's a lot of maggots, there's a lot of flies, and it smells god-awful. God-awful. Okay? But you've got to answer the question. Can I eat it? Will it hurt me? Can I make babies with it? One of those answers just got answered. One of those questions just got answered. And it should have been, can I eat it? And the answer is no. Why is it no? What emotion probably is coming up as you're smelling this rotten meat with maggots, flies, smells god-awful? Probably the answer would probably be disgust. Now, what is that emotion telling you? Don't eat it. Because if you eat it, you're going to be sick. And if you get sick, you could be lunch for next tiger or lion. So, the emotion of disgust is telling you, do not ingest that, literally that meat. Because even if you reach into that rotten meat and put it up to your mouth, what's your body going to do? It's going to like try and get rid of it. And even if you force it down your throat, what's your body going to do? Push it up. And if you happen to keep it down, okay, you're probably going to get incredibly sick and be lunch for the next lion. So you're not going to be making any babies. So what the information is of that emotion is do not eat it. Now, most of us have not eaten any zebras lately, but what have other people or situations tried to push down your throat? Maybe it's an idea. Maybe it's a concept. Because of cultural changes, we don't tend to eat zebras anymore, but we do eat ideas and suggestions. So,
And
I'll give you an
alcohol,
example.
when we were little, alcohol repulsed us and made us throw
Absolutely.
up. But if you eat it poison long enough and slowly enough, then you go, oh, well, must not be that bad.
Right, along with cigarettes. What's the first time that somebody ever smoked a cigarette? You cough, okay? And you want to throw up, and you just keep doing it because you think it's cool. So, how it's changed. Now, this happened probably about 10 to 15 years ago. There was a story in the newspaper about basically some white guys in Texas that caught this black guy, put a noose around his neck, and drug him behind their truck for many miles until it killed him. Most of us thought that was incredibly repulsive and disgusting. The point is, the news media was trying to push down to us a story that we found disgusting. We did not want to take it into our consciousness. So again, disgust, it is telling you, do not put that in your system, either mentally or physically. So when you're paying attention to your emotions now, I want you to simply ask yourself, what is it trying to tell you by having that emotion? Look underneath of it for what the language is the information it wants you to get from that emotion. If you're in the shower and the water was too hot and you said, I'm feeling hot, it's probably could be hurting you. Turn up the cold water. If you're sitting in, traffic and you're annoyed, what is it that is trying to tell you about your level of understanding and consciousness at that point? Only you can answer that question about what is the dynamic it's trying to tell you, and what information do you need to use the neocortex for. So does that make sense to people?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I totally agree. I really got that when you were talking about something the media is trying to put in your consciousness and your body doesn't want it. It's like
Mhm.
I never thought of it that way before.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
My analogy to that is watching the 10 o'clock news. Another thing where you see all these gloom and doom, every kind of violence going across the spectrum of things, and some things you want to know about just for your own protection, but when it just is repetitive stuff over and over of a narrative, yeah.
And so we might conclude that if a person is on a steady diet of garbage ideas, they're kind of in a tough spot.
Well, and that goes with garbage in, garbage out. So you've got to be, discerning about what you are actually, what you're actually allowing your brain to be exposed to. Because, again, that goes to something that we talked about before, and that is just simple brain functioning. Simple brain functioning. Your heart, it functions because it's got 4 valves. It pumps blood around your body. That's its function. Your stomach digests food so that you can get the proteins, the fats, the nutrients, all out of it so that your body can be sustainable. Your brain functioning is to compare and over time work out how to cope with that. So, by the way, Vance,
Yeah.
I lost everybody. Try to get back.
You were breaking up a little bit there. It was like, but it looks good now.
I'm not seeing anybody or anything. So
Oh,
I'm
well,
not sure what's happening here.
huh? Well, did it drop down or did it just freeze on you?
I'm completely on the beginning page. So when I start a free trial, so
That's you're just on the wrong browser. Click on the little, look on your toolbar for another icon like a flower or something.
oh, okay.
Just pop up. It's popping up a different browser, I think. You're on there.
I've got the I've got the little side thing over here on the side. Attendees 7 out of 26.
Right, but this would be a browser down on your toolbar. It's one of them. You may have it on your side, but it's a window.
There we are.
Okay.
I got it.
All right.
So, function of the brain. Whatever you expose your brain to is going to become your norm. So you must use discernment. So when you watch that 10 o'clock news, it's meant to give you a cortisol rush, and you don't want that. So, the headline, 9 kids could have been killed when their bus in Alabama almost went off the road. Where's the key words there?
Coulda.
Could have. Yeah. You don't need to know that information. Any information you need will come to you. If you need to know it, you'll know it. Otherwise, it's just exposing your brain basically to porn. So, and then you will go to bed with a little bit of a cortisol rush, and then you're going to keep the addiction going.
Maybe talk just a little bit about cortisol, John. I don't think everybody's heard that story.
Okay. So, evolutionary, the human body has a hormone that's made in its brain called cortisol. And the reason for cortisol was to give you an evolutionary edge. So, 100,000 years ago, me, tiger, 190 pounds, no teeth, no claws, 300 pounds, teeth, claws. Who's going to win that fight? Tiger. 190 pounds, no teeth, no claws, adrenaline, 300 pounds, teeth, claws, and adrenaline. Who's going to win that fight still? Tiger. Through evolution, human beings developed a hormone that no other animal has, okay, and it's cortisol. Cortisol literally is produced in the brain, the pituitary gland, and what it does is it goes immediately upon threat into your blood system, and what it does is it opens up the cells so that glucose can get in faster so that the mitochondria can start producing energy to get that muscle moving. So I have a 1 to 2 second advantage over somebody that doesn't have it to get my body moving up a tree so that I'm not lunch. That's the purpose of cortisol, to open up the cells faster so that glucose gets in, mitochondria can produce energy and get your body moving out away from tiger threat. So, what happens in addiction? What happens in addiction? Let's use heroin. So, let's pretend that at birth, everybody started putting heroin in everything that you ate. The milk, the baby food, the McDonald's burgers, the French fries. Everybody was completely addicted to heroin. Would you notice that anybody's on heroin? No. Okay? But heroin, what it does is you have set points on your central nervous system of how high you go and how low you go. But heroin increases that bar. But your liver, your kidneys, your spleen takes the heroin out of your body and brings it back down. But if you keep using heroin, we're going to reset that bar. And every cell in your body is going to get used to a certain level of heroin in your body. When it comes out, what message does your body send to your brain?
Need more.
Get more.
Good.
So you move your feet, you find your pusher, you get a shot of heroin, and you give it to you. Boom, you've created again, raising your central nervous system up. So that's addiction. What if, from birth, if you were born in North America or Europe, and you live here now, and you were given that addiction like everybody else, multitasking is one of them. Go, 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 and I should be doing this, I could have been doing this, I would have been doing this. Remember, diving board of shame. So you get an expectation of what you should be doing, okay? That right there is shame. And shame is the number one way for your brain to produce cortisol. So, if all your life you've been given all these expectations, you've reset your central nervous system. Now, cortisol does come out of your system. One, you either don't produce it, or two, you have to work out to the point of sweating. Same dynamic as running to get up tree away from tiger. So, that's why people always feel good after they work out, is because they've taken the cortisol out of their system. But their cells are addicted to that level of cortisol for your central nervous system, the hyper-awareness of all the tigers in the world. Paper tigers, piñata tigers, real tigers, fake tigers, we all got them. So, when the cortisol comes out of your system, and every cell, because it wants the glucose in there at a certain level, sends a message up to your brain, get me more cortisol, like heroin, your human brain does not know the difference between what's inside of it and what's outside of it. It doesn't know imaginary tiger from real tiger. It doesn't. Let me prove it real quick. Let's pretend that strawberries are your favorite thing in the world to eat. You love strawberries, okay? And we're in my house, and I start describing midsummer strawberries to you, that plumpness, that sweetness, that little bit of tartness, that kind of crunch when you bite into it. What's going to happen in your mouth?
Increase your saliva flow.
You're going to salivate, okay? There's no strawberries in my house. Just the thought of it will create it. So what if, with heroin, when the heroin level dropped in your bloodstream, your body sent the message up, go get more heroin, you moved your feet, you went over to your pusher, you got your heroin, gave your shot, you're fine. What if the pusher is in your brain? All you have to think of is anything that stresses you, from should, would, could, enough, to expectations, and your brain gives you a shot of cortisol, which then makes you hyper aware of your environment, hyper aware of your relationships, hyper aware of more things that you could find shame with to give yourself even greater shots of cortisol, and then keeps you running. And you wonder why people have a difficult time sleeping at night or being tired during the day. They're constantly running away from paper tigers. There's a really easy way to get off of it, but you got to stop those 10 o'clock news at nights. Because you really, what do you need? You need to bring down that level from the day. You need to bring down your central nervous system and reset and go back to the natural reset points.
And
Does that help?
one of the things that we're doing is we're fixing our outside hot tub. We've let it go ever since we put the jacuzzi in the master bath, but getting that hot tub just because I found out that soaking in hot water actually brings the levels down. Mm-hmm. So I think you do that too, don't you, John?
I do that every night. Every night I sit in my hot tub just to catch anything else. But you're also doing something which we are bringing down your levels of cortisol. Those 3 pages a day is actually reducing the level of cortisol in everybody, because people start noticing that they function better because you're getting the paper tigers down on paper, and that's part of it. The other part is the rubber band, or however you keep a track of your own body. You want to stay away from or know what those, quote, bad feelings do, because you don't want them escalating into paper tigers. So there's where, part of it's going right there. Are we still there?
Yeah, something just happened.
Yeah, all the people went away.
No, it was really strange. Actually, the pictures of people disappeared off my screen.
Yeah, I was gonna say your pictures disappeared. All I see is a white screen.
I'm putting my mouse over there. It looks like it's jammed. Okay. Well, we can still see you, John.
Okay. So anyway, so that's number one, is we've got to get eventually people off of cortisol. They don't even know that they're hooked on it. Just like if you were born and everybody put heroin in your milk. So that's one of the things that we're working towards. So anybody have any questions about that? How it might work?
I guess you carry that one step further. So don't be watching a wild action adventure movie at 11 o'clock at night right before you go to bed.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, anything that you watch 2 hours before you go to bed electronically has hyped your brain up into alpha waves, and we want to bring them down into theta waves.
So what other things could you do? I guess that goes back into reading, or well, you have to watch out if you're reading an adventure novel too.
Actually, it's not really, no, it really doesn't work the same way with any kind of reading, because your brain has been programmed that it uses actually creative centers instead of being fed. It actually creates the pictures in your head, which is okay. But if you're pulsated at, your brain goes back into overstimulus. So reading is a really good thing. If you can read any kind of cultural books, as self-help or spiritual books, they're all really good, because anything that you expose to your brain right before you go to sleep, your brain's going to work on that as a problem. It's kind of like that old saying, you need to sleep on it overnight, so you think about what the problem is, and you wake up in the morning and you kind of have a solution. It's the same thing when you go to sleep at night with any kind of reading. And any kind of adventure novels, it's not an issue really. It's the electronics, because of the level of refreshing on the screen. Your eyes can't see it, but it's actually moving it up into alpha waves.
Wow, that makes sense.
That does make sense.
Because I don't sleep well all the time.
Yeah, that gives, and I watch TV a lot before I go to sleep.
Not a good thing.
Yeah, All right.
Those things like a Kindle, they don't have a screen refresh. That's what makes them a little bit different, because it's literally just moving pages from pages. It doesn't have a screen refresh like an iPad or a computer. So, um, so.
I wanted to see if we could get to Clement really quick. Clement, would you mind? I'm trying to. Maybe you can unmute yourself. Oh, there we go. Are you there, Clement?
Yeah, can you hear me, guys?
Yeah. I wanted you to, if you don't mind, maybe talk a little bit about your experience. You've been doing this, what, about 6 weeks or so?
To be precise, actually 7 weeks.
Okay, 7 weeks. That's close.
Yeah, it was a fantastic experience because I started out 6, 7 weeks ago with a really bad feeling about myself in terms of trading because I don't know. I know Vance through Forex Out of War, and I've been learning how to trade Forex with him since a year and a half ago.
Mm.
And things start getting better, and sometimes it just get way bad because I keep having this sense of regret and a lot of bad feelings when I do trading, and I'm really scared if I ever make mistake. So until a point, I've been doing a lot of research, a lot of readings on different methods, different mentality, how to be a good trader and things like that, and everything got messed up. So it's until a point I talked, I type a message in a forum, say, I'm totally messed up and I don't know what to do, and that's how Vance introduced me to this ICI group. And then since then, I've been practicing the 3 pages.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that's how to sensing all my emotions and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it come to a point, it's been good for the starting. I start noticing, at first it didn't really shows a lot of emotions out of me because I never try to sense my emotion over there.
Mm-hmm.
And all the emotions are coming out after the 3rd week and so on. So all this just always though has this clogged feeling that I couldn't get away with. I don't know how to identify it
Mm-hmm.
until a point I don't know whether I'm doing it right or wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So I messaged Vance and he gave me a suggestion and listened to what John said on how to identify the emotions and how to quantify it, how to make it, how to define it in terms of all the senses, like how to feel, how it tastes, how it looks like, texture and all that. And I thought it solved. I still don't know what clock filling is, but maybe it's a term that I don't really understand. Terms that that doesn't really register in my brain,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm able to locate it
Mm-hmm.
and minimize it to a certain extent. And now it's on my 8th week.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting better, and my friends even my relative actually just yesterday, she told me that, hey, I noticed something different about you. You seem getting happier and happier. I was like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it just, I really feel really grateful and feel really happy. It's just that certain points, I don't know, I try to follow what my feeling, my gut feeling tried to tell me to do. However, I don't know whether it happens to everyone, but my brain is really lazy.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the times it's just like, nah, hack the 3 pages. We can just do it next time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, however, I'm still doing all the sensing work, and and create the emotion that I want whenever I can. When I'm touching my wedding ring, I just keep sensing, how do I feel right now? What do I feel?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's been doing great. It's just that, I'm having a hard time with the 3 pages.
Well, the 3 pages is just a vehicle. It's just a vehicle to start training your brain. Just like if you were going to run a marathon, you'd need to train your heart, your lungs, and your muscles to do that kind of endurance. The 3 pages is just to start getting you aware that this brain, it's not you. It's just an organ that's doing its job, and unfortunately, it has a voice. That's the problem. So are you listening to the voice or are you not? Okay. There's a Native American story that I love to tell people about that voice. Okay. And so it goes like this. So Little Eagle comes home from school one day and his grandfather's there. And his grandfather says, Little Eagle, what are you doing home from school? He goes, oh, grandfather, I have been bad. And he goes, oh, really? What did you do? And he goes, oh, I can't tell you what I did, but it was bad. He goes, well, Little Eagle, what happened? He goes, oh, grandfather, I have 2 wolves inside of me. I have the bad wolf and I have the good wolf. And it was bad. And the grandfather says, well, Little Eagle, what happened? He goes, well, the bad wolf, it yelled and snapped at me and acted like it was going to bite me, and I listened to it. And the grandfather says, oh, that's not good, Little Eagle, And Little Eagle, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And the grandfather says, well, next time that the bad wolf is biting and trying to bite at you, which one are you going to pay attention to, the bad wolf or the good wolf? And Little Eagle goes, I don't know. How do you do that? And the grandfather says, which one do you feed? Which one do you feed? Are you feeding the bad wolf? Or are you feeding the good wolf? And the 3 pages, it feeds the good wolf. Because you know what's going on inside of you. You know the good things to do. You know the parts of you that are generous, loving, compassionate, gracious, compassionate again. You know what to do, but that only comes from the good wolf. Bad wolf, lazy, and it will bite you. So, which one do you feed?
Good story. Hey, John, did you want to talk a little bit about forgiveness today?
Yeah. So let's go over that real quickly. And I love that Clement used the word that I needed. Okay. He said that he regretted. Okay. And that's a key word. So remember when we were talking just a little while ago, I said if you use the words should, would, could, or enough, you're standing on the diving board for lake of shame. Now, most of you are, Olympic athletes in that lake, so don't worry about it because you just need to get out of the lake and dry yourself off because nothing good comes from shame except cortisol, and that's not good for you anyway, unless you need to run away from a tiger. So, let's go to forgiveness. Now, remember that the 3 tenets, the 3 pillars of self-awareness, mindfulness, are trust, gratitude, and forgiveness. And here's how you know when you need to do forgiveness work. Now, most of us have been raised with the idea of forgive and forget, which doesn't work, and it never has, and probably all of you know that, because once you've had a bite of an apple, you can't say that you've never tasted an apple. So, forgive and forget does not work. So get that one out of your head. It does not work. And forgiveness has absolutely nothing to do with another person, place, or event. Nothing. So, which leaves you with, what's forgiveness? Okay? So, I'm going to teach you right now the mechanics of forgiveness. And very few people know this one, but if you know it, you will move through it very well.
Hey, John.
So,
John, before you start, I want to put a little emphasis on this, guys. I was writing John about something that was going on. This was about 7 or 8 months ago. And some of you have heard me tell this before, but I want to tell it again, just real quick. I would write to him and tell him what happened, and I would want to get some insight on how I should react in that situation. But he kept writing just one thing. Well, it sounds like a lot of shame. And I'm like, I'm sitting in front of my computer. It's coming through in an email. I'm looking at the computer and going, I don't feel any shame. What the hell's he talking about? Oh, well, whatever. I went back to work with traders and stuff. Next week, some things happen. I send John a note. Okay, this is what's happening. This happened, that happened, that happened. You know, what should I do? And he writes back, it sounds like a lot of shame. I'm like, what is he talking about? I mean, because I'm trying to get some help here with this problem. Right? So anyway, after about the third time, I said, okay, what do I do? Okay, and he gave me what he's about to give to you guys. And guys, it's amazing. So I just wanted to put some emphasis on it so you can really buckle up and pay attention to it.
Okay. So let's start off with let go of everything that you know about forgiveness. Let go. We're going to teach you a completely different way of doing this, okay? Because it's never about another person, place, or thing. Nothing. Forgiveness is a function of powerlessness. Forgiveness is a function of powerlessness. You don't know something. You don't know how to cope with something. You don't know how to defend yourself. You just don't have the skills, period. That's what powerlessness is. So, how to know when you need to do forgiveness work, which means literally sitting down at the dining room table and writing this out. Literally means sit down at the table, you're going to write it out, okay? So, forgiveness, again, is a function of powerlessness. So, the first thing that you have to do is recognize when you need to do that work. And it's when these three big R words are used. Either you're thinking them or feeling them. Either you're thinking them or you're feeling them. The big three R's are, write these down, regret, remorse, or resentment. And Clement said he regretted, excuse me. He regretted something. Okay?
You just went mute.
Who went mute?
I can hear you, David.
I couldn't, John, just right when he says, I'm getting ready to give you the three.
Three big R's.
Well, you know, he
Okay.
told you earlier that when you needed information, you would receive it. I think the reverse also works. When you're not supposed to have the information, it won't come to you.
Yeah, it was like at the exact point got going to start. And I'm like,
What?
So start with regret.
Okay, so if you feel or think one of these three big R's, which are remorse, regret, or resentment, and I'll tell you how I kind of remember these, okay? Remorse usually means something was oral, remorse, oral. You said something you really wished you could take back, okay? So you were impulsive, you said something you'd like to take back, but you can't. So that's remorse. Resentment, sent. Somebody sent something to you which you did not know how to cope with, deal with, or do anything with, and it hurt you. So resentment, it usually is experiential. Something sent it your way. Okay? And the last one, regret. Okay? You always hear people at the end of their life saying that they regret that they didn't X, Y, Z, or regret this or regret that, okay? Regret is that your ego, your monkey brain, your bad wolf, whatever it was, with fear stopped you from taking an action which would have led to greater happiness. Regret is that your monkey brain stopped you with fear from doing something that probably would have led to greater happiness. That's what regret is about. So, If one of those things happens, resentment, remorse, regret comes up, you have to sit down, dining room table, and do the next 5 steps. 5 steps. First step, we're going to very, very much objectify whatever was going on. Okay? So the first thing, you've heard that metaphor, a line drawn in sand? Well, we're going to expand that metaphor. Was that line drawn in sand? Which means probably in 6 months you're not even going to think about this. Okay? Was it drawn in granite? Which means it is non-negotiable. And as you know, many things that have been drawn in granite, thousands, even 500,000 years later, are still around because it's non-negotiable. Or was it drawn in water? You have to decide, whatever that event was, is it drawn in granite, sand, or water? Now, if I had a son, okay, or a daughter, and my child was brutally raped at age 4, or any age, but let's just use this as an example, okay? Is it ever in my life, even to my dying day, ever going to be okay? No. It's a line drawn in granite. I am never going to make or work at making it okay. Maybe the person had mental illness. I don't care, because I'm not going to spend one moment trying to make it okay. If somebody hit my car because they weren't paying attention, they were on their cell phone, they were texting while they were driving, 6 months from now, nobody got hurt, brand new car, am I really going to think about it? Probably drawn in sand. If I'm walking into a room and somebody accidentally steps on my toe, am I really going to be thinking about it in 10 minutes? Probably not. Probably drawn in water. So your first step is you have to objectify the situation and ask yourself, is this non-negotiable? Or will I not be even thinking about it in 6 months? Or am I even going to be thinking about it in 5 minutes? That's the first step, because it depends on how much energy you're going to put into it. The second thing that you're going to have to do is you're going to have to sit down and literally draw out what are all the things that happened to conspire to make that event. Literally see it like chunks of bricks in a wall. So she has this idea of this. I had this idea of that. She had that idea. I had that idea. And it conspired to lead to X. Her idea, my idea, her idea, my idea, boom, boom, boom. My story, her story, my story, her story. This conversation, that conversation, this event, that event. Take it all apart. Put it into little bricks, because you're going to need it later. So that's the mental part of it. You're going to objectify, take yourself out of the situation, just look at it objectively. She had a story that it was okay to, go out and be infidelities. I had a story that I kill my mates because they do that. She had a story that she needs to kill me first. I don't know, okay?
That's distracting.
But objectify actually everything that you can think about that conspired, that it ended up in that situation where I felt remorse, regret, or resentment. Okay? Next thing. So that takes care of the mental part of it here for a minute. Now we got to bring it into the body, just like the rubber band is for the emotions. Where in your body do you experience powerlessness? Where do you feel it in your head, your shoulders, your stomach? Do you feel nauseous? If you were really to allow yourself the experience of powerlessness, that you had no control over what happened, or you were unconscious about what was happening, where do you somatically experience powerlessness in your body? That's number 3, okay? So as soon as you do that, then you go to that little step I told you about how big is it, how, what's the texture of it, what's the color of it, what's the temperature of it, what's the smell of it, what's the taste of it. If it was trying to tell you something, what would it be telling you? If it had a voice, all that, that's where you use that tool to, when you are actually identified it in your body, then you're addressing it. So that's number 3. Number 4, okay, is that you have to identify what you learned from this. What did you learn? What insight, what skill, what information, what action did you learn from when you took that thing apart, that the next time that you see it starting to happen, you can pull one of those bricks out of the wall. You can pull one of those pieces out of the wall. You can let go of your story, or you can see their story and not be reactive. Oh, this is a really great story that they have, that they get to screw anybody that they want. Okay, maybe I need to change relationship. I don't know. But what skills, tools, or insights did you learn from taking that apart, so that when you see it starting to happen again, you can pull one of those bricks out of the wall so that you don't end up with the same experience again? Because Einstein said, doing things over and over and over and expecting a different result, insanity. So, number 5. So number 4 is taking back your power. You have listened to your body, and you've felt it. You literally felt it by describing it with all the 5 senses. And then you looked at cognitively, what didn't I see? That if I see it now, I can do something about it, so that I don't get the same result again. Number 5, the reason why you do it all is so that if it starts to happen again, you can do that. But at the very least, you can teach it to somebody else. And by teaching forgiveness to other people, what generally happens in the world? People are happier. You're rebuilding trust. And that's what we want. We want to build trust, and we want to look at happiness. So, the 5th step is, who can you teach it to? Who can you teach real forgiveness, where you take back your power? Who can you teach it to? Can you teach it to your kids? Can you teach it to your neighbors? Can you teach it somewhere else at work? So that way, more and more people have a literal, mechanical way to go about forgiveness. If you remember, several years back, there was a shooting in, I think it was Pennsylvania, where in a one-room schoolhouse, one of the kids slaughtered 15 of the Amish kids, okay? Within 2 hours, the parents of all of these slaughtered kids were at the house of the mother of the murderer, okay, giving her presents, because they did not want to hold the energy of trying to figure out what went wrong. They wanted to move on and go through the grieving process. It would never be okay that their kids were slaughtered. They were never going to get their kids back. What was the point? But they wanted to move on with, what can we do for the next time, so that other parents do not ever experience this kind of grief. That is forgiveness. Now, did you hear anything about another person here? Nope. It has nothing to do with another person, place, or thing. You've heard this. Forgiveness starts with yourself. So that is the tool here. Forgiveness is a 5-step process. 1, you know you need to do the process when you experience the feelings of remorse, regret, or resentment. If they're there, you have to sit down and do the 5-step process. Granite, sand, water, let you know the energy you need to spend. Take it apart, piece by piece by piece by piece. Feel it in your body. Describe it in your body, so that the more that you focus on it, the more it goes away. Learn what skills, tools, or insights did you gain from it, thus taking back your power. Taking back your power. That's what I told you in the beginning. Forgiveness is a function of powerlessness. By learning something from it, you've put it down up here, so that the next time it starts to happen, you can pull one of those bricks out of the wall And the fifth part is, how can you teach this to somebody else? How can you teach it to somebody else so they experience forgiveness for themselves, which leads to a greater state of happiness? Questions?
It's awesome. I just made a note I wanted to share with the people who are listening. Like, for example, David, I don't know if you knew this, but that exercise he referred to, it was actually number 3. That is the last video that we did. If you look on the Facebook page, you guys, I don't know, a few weeks ago, that was about how to deal with a stuck feeling. So that exercise for number 3 of the forgiveness is in that video.
Mm-hmm. I'm just kind of
I have a question.
Okay.
Can you hear me, guys?
The car on the right goes first.
Command, go ahead.
Oh, I'm just got a question on the last one. In terms of sharing, do you mean, John, do you mean by sharing what I learned on the step 4, or how do we cope with the forgiveness?
All the above. Tell them your experience, because that's the GPS, the impeccable word. Tell them how you went through, like instead of telling them about which television show you watched last night, why don't you tell them, like, God, you know, I learned this new technique for how to do forgiveness, and I tried it, and I felt so much better. And then if they say, well, how's that? Then say, you know, if you experience remorse, regret, resentment, tells you got to do this 5-step process, and here's the 5 steps that I did. This is what I discovered about myself.
I just had an epiphany.
Doesn't everybody win?
I just had an epiphany. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, because what you just said, you know, now this event that was actually, you perceive it was terrible. You do this work and it goes away and you become more happy. And then you use that event to share it with someone else, so you make the world a better place. That's it's like, oh wow, that actually, I'm now actually happy that I went through that.
Yeah, you take back your power. You take back your power. Forgiveness is about taking back your power and learning from it. It has nothing to do with the other person at all.
Yeah, I remember what it's like, though, to be the person who has not done the exercise yet. So I want to throw that out there. You know, until you experience it, it just looks like mud. You know, you go, wait, sounds like something's there. Sounds like it'll work. And, you know, so far, Vance and John haven't steered me wrong yet. So, I mean, that was what I did. Basically, everything John had told me had happened. So I thought, well, I might as well try it. and I mean, just an amazing thing happened.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting, and we're out of time here, but for those people that come into my office, and, you know, I tell them at the very beginning, if there's anything that I tell you that is not true and that does not work, okay, I will give you your money back. Absolutely 100% guaranteed. And I have not given 1 penny back in over 30 years. So something must be working right.
Right, and the other thing that I really liked that you said a long time ago is, I don't know why it meant something to me, because you almost got to trust somebody saying it to even believe it in the first place. But he says, and I don't know if I believed it. I guess I didn't initially. But John said, Vance, I want to tell you something. This works 100% of the time. And that means something to me, because I work with, you know, I've worked in different fields, business opportunities. Well, it worked for 20% of the people, and I did this, so it worked for 5% of the people. And it's kind of intriguing to go, wow, this works for 100% of the time. that sounds pretty interesting.
Einstein
I'd
said,
like to tell a little story about something that happened to me that will tie right into this.
Okay.
That's Cubby, by the way.
Yeah,
This is Cubby, and this is for you, Clement, too. About a month ago, my computer went down. completely down. I couldn't fix it, and I'm pretty good at fixing computers. But I couldn't fix it. I took it over to Office Depot, and it took them a month to get it back to me.
Just to tell you what he knows about computers is he's an IBM engineer, okay? So he knows computers.
Hold on.
Yeah, I worked for
It's not
IBM.
bad to buy a new computer.
And I can't tell you how many computers I fixed when I was there. Other computers I fixed on the phone, but I couldn't fix mine.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't notice this until I got it back. But I mean, 6 months ago I would have gone out of my mind. I would have been climbing the walls and counting the bumps on the ceiling. But I kept. This is for you, Clement. I did my 3 pages every day, and now when I do my 3 pages, I love it. It's fun, you know. I can hardly wait to do them tomorrow, you know. And I was calm throughout all this. I was concerned, you know. I've talked to Vance about it, you know, a few times during that time.
He sounded like
'cause I was
someone hit him. He
incommunicado.
sounded like someone just walked up and hit him. You know, he wasn't in pain. He's just like, oh, hey, Vance, how are you? And that Cubby never talks that. He's always like, hey, man, you sound awesome. I'm like, oh, no, something's wrong with Cubby.
What happens when you get the cortisol out
But
of
when it
the
was all over, I got my computer back, and it was virgin. None of the programs that I normally use were on it because they wiped it clean. They did a format. They gave it to me as if I just got it from the factory. So I had to recreate all my programs. I had to find them somewhere on the internet and download them if I didn't have them on a disk, which I didn't. The only ones I had on a disk was Office. But anyway, I got it back Wednesday of last week, and it took me until just today to get everything downloaded that I use all the time, to find it. You know, downloading, you know, was nothing. Takes 2 minutes. But to find the one I actually needed. And I wasn't frustrated. I just, in fact, there was 2 or 3 programs that I couldn't find for a while. So I just backed off, did some reading, didn't think about it. You know, and the calmness that I went through, if that had happened 6 months ago, I would have been seething. Smoke would have been coming out of my ears, you know. But
you know, the great rabbi in Christian belief system, and the great rabbi, the Christ, said, a peace that passes all understanding. You can't understand why it's happening, but you're feeling peaceful. A peace that passes all understanding.
Yes, I agree with that, and because I went through it, but again, I didn't notice it until I finally found everything I needed and reflected on what I went through over the past month, in the past week after I got it back. It was not that wasn't me. It is me now.
That's gratitude, right?
But it wasn't me a month or 6 months ago.
It's an exercise in
That's
being
part of
present
that.
and gratitude, right? One of the 3 pillars. So one of the things that I've noticed is when you're in that 2 steps back, it's probably about one of those 3 things. It's about trust, gratitude, or forgiveness. And so life's trying to teach us, say, okay, you had a good run there last couple of days. That felt nice. Now we want to give you something. And it's always a curveball. You're like, whoa, where's that? Always a curveball. But just try to think, is this about trust? Is this about gratitude? Or is this about forgiveness? Cubby, that was a great story.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Thanks, Cubby.
Yeah, that's great, Cub. You know, I think I'm going to have to learn that lesson myself, too, because my computer just died on me.
Oh, no.
And it's been a week now, and I was like, I haven't even had the chance to even work on it yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm pretty sure I'll be sharing similar experience with you pretty soon.
Well, let me tell you, Millie, you are awesome. You will definitely pull through this.
Okay.
John, does it ever help? I did an exercise many years ago in which I wrote down every situation or every person that I felt in my life had wronged me. And I sat down for hours and did this and just came up with this list. And then I went through that list and did some of this. I objectified the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I was done with it, I said, you to the person, if it was a person, I said, you were doing the best you could do with your prevailing knowledge and wisdom you had at that time. I forgive you and move on. But it did take me objectifying it, which is the big part of everything, is breaking it down and without emotion. Because I see your first two parts here that are particularly useful for me is, what I've done in the past is, how big a deal is it now, after you've had some time to reflect on it, and then take it apart without without the emotion attached to it, and then give it. But I've always found that I've almost been paranoid about not allowing things and people to go very long without me having some resolution in my mind and carrying resentment. Resistance, resentment, because I learned resistance, resentment, and revenge is what happens to us. And
most of those are ego, and that right there goes along with. And I've said this one before. I get this one from my grandmother. You can be right, or you can be loved, but you cannot be both. Choose.
Yes,
You can be right, or you can be loved, but you cannot be both. Choose.
It's funny. I just told John last week I was dealing that with a trader. I says, you know what? That applies to everything, because the trader kept telling me what he was seeing and why he was right, and me as a teacher, I was going, I need to somehow help him see this. And finally, I just got so frustrated. I says, well, you can be right or you can make money. Which one do you want to do?
Right. What most people forget about the forgiveness, though, is taking it into the body experience. And without the body, you can't go anywhere. You're just staying in your head, and you'll loop. You'll continue to loop. But by taking it and integrating it into a wholeness experience, both body and mind, then you're going to get much further down the road. So.
Okay. On that note, I want to suggest that maybe next time we talk about why the neurobiology of that. With the neurons going down, out, and up, the whole living in your head thing, and why that's really just a biological thing we can explain.
Great. Sounds good.
So we'll cover that next time, guys. Thank you so much. We're way over time, and we've been enjoying it. But thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
thank you so much, John, for your insight.
Thank you so much, Vince. Thank you so much, John.
Take care.
Our pleasure, guys. Our pleasure. Take care, guys.
Okay, see y'all.
Bye.
You guys are doing great.
You're awesome, Cubby.
You're awesome.
You're awesome too.
Bye-bye.
Hey, guys.
Bye-bye, all.